We visit with Dolores Huerta, who was a co-founder of United Farm Workers Union, along with Cesar Chavez. And we get her insight on community engagement. It's all here on the next Latino Motion. Join us.
Choose to get lost in the woods to gain experience in forest management.
Choose to travel through time to understand the past.
Choose to soar to pursue a career in dance.
Stockton University offers 50 high-quality academic programs, small class sizes, and affordable tuition. Choose to match your interests and talents at one of New Jersey's nationally ranked universities.
Latino Motion with Bert Lopez is presented by Latino Motion Public Affairs Media, a New Jersey nonprofit corporation, and Stockton University. This edition of Latino Motion with Bert Lopez is brought to you by the HD Studios at the campus of Stockton University. Funding for Latino Motion is provided by Atlanticare, a member of Geisinger. Atlantic City Electric, energy for a changing world, and South Jersey Gas. Welcome to Latino Motion, a weekly interview show highlighting issues impacting New Jersey's Latino community while advancing understanding of Latino cultural heritage and contributions to our society. And here is your host, Bert Lopez.
Buenos dias and welcome to Latino Motion. The Women's Center of Atlantic County is now undergoing a new name change to more fully represent the agency's advancements towards safety, justice, and empowerment. Joining me is the agency's CEO, Claudia Raslov, to discuss this name change. And I hope I didn't mess up your name too bad, but
beautiful job.
Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
So the new name,
Yes.
It's a Spanish name, which I'm very pleased with, is Avanzar. Yeah. Tell me why the name change?
You say it so beautifully as well. Well, we've been in the community for over 40 years, 43 years, and we started as the Women's Center in some form. And, you know, after 43 years, you're not the same agency you were when you started out. And we serve a vast amount of people, and certainly we serve men. And we would never want any victim to be at a hospital or a police station and think that an advocate coming from the Women's Center wasn't representing them, wasn't there to meet their needs. So we felt it was time, and some other agencies in the state have also done the same, to be more inclusive.
Now, you're not a government agency. I know that you operate as a shelter as well.
We're a private 5013C. And we do get support from the county, in-kind support. They're very good to us. It's a good partnership, but we're not a county agency. So we have to do a lot of fundraising, and we have a lot of contracts to do services.
Now, I know the main mission of the agency, you worked a lot with domestic violence, sexual assault,
Yes.
and human trafficking, and we'll get into that in the second segment. But let's talk about some of the other services you do offer. Start off by dismantling racism. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yes, we're very proud of that service. It started from a training that we received from the New Jersey Coalition to End Domestic Violence. And we took it very seriously, and we brought it home. And we looked at our agency to make sure that we understood what racism and how it shows up and that it is systemic, so that we can go out into the community and provide trainings and support. We have a dramatic series that we do. It's called Things I Remember, a conversation on racism. And I think it's very important. It's very important because some people think that racism doesn't exist anymore, but it's really embedded in everything that is our structure, our society. So we have to look into it and really make a difference.
How do you roll that out in the community?
Well, as I was saying, we have that dramatic play in which the question is, when do you first remember encountering racism? And of course, for people of color and white people, very different. So those stories were so impactful that we actually copyrighted them. And we go out and, similar to a Broadway show where you sit down and hear monologues, the different staff or actors do the monologues, and it generates the audience to share their own stories.
Yeah, very important to get them involved. Let's talk about another service, and that is fatherhood services.
Yes, fatherhood services, it's a combination. We certainly have batterers intervention, which is for offenders, and they can be court-ordered or they can come in on their own. They just want to make a difference in their life when they use violence. We also have fatherhood services to help fathers be stronger parents, to be good co-parents if the family is not an intact unit and you have your own homes, but it's very difficult to work, and we support them with child development skills, activities, do some groups.
And certainly that's a great service. We do need more responsible fathers, certainly, to be involved in their children's lives.
And they need support doing that.
Yeah. We do have quite a number of other services we'll touch upon. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with more Latino Motion. Welcome back to Latino Motion. We continue our discussion with the Women's Center, now known as Avanzar, with the CEO, Claudia Ratzlaff. And Claudia, we were talking about a couple of the services and still want to touch base on some of the other services that the agency offers. One of them is Displace a Homeowners Program, a Homemakers Program rather, and Self-Sufficiency. Tell me a little bit about that program.
Well, Displaced Homemakers is for individuals that have been out of the workforce for some time, 10, 20 years, and because of a trauma such as a disability or a death of a spouse, divorce, or domestic violence, they find themselves having to be the primary breadwinner. So we support them with training and help pulling a resume together, a professional clothing closet, some testing.
And true to the name change, it's no longer just cater for women.
Correct.
It's open to anyone.
Absolutely.
It's going to do those issues. Let's talk about another program, which is Peace, a Learned Solution.
Yes, that's a intensive case management and therapeutic program for the child victims of domestic violence. They have to no longer be in a home where there's domestic violence, so that means either the perpetrator no longer lives there or the perpetrator is in services or counseling as well and is violence-free for at least 6 months. And then you begin to work on it to stop the intergenerational abuse, because if you grow up in an abusive home, you only know 2 roles, how to be a victim or a perpetrator. Right. So that doesn't give you a lot to work with when you become an adult. So we try to, through play therapy and art therapy, we try to work through what the children have been through so they can really learn how to deal with strong emotions.
How those children refer to you?
Oh, they're referred to us just as anyone. They may have been through our shelter program or our non-residential program, or through another agency, another social service agency, or they can even just call the hotline.
Let's talk about one more you have, and it's Grow New Jersey, South Jersey Technical Assistance Center, and New Jersey First Steps.
Yeah, that's a big program we have through a government RFP, and we help child care centers improve their services through incentives and training and coaching. So that's what our role is, and we do that in South Jersey. That's a whole regional service for us.
Great. So you do offer a lot of services, obviously, and one of the things we want to talk about is domestic violence, sexual abuse, and human trafficking, and we'll do that in a minute. But right now, let's talk about if someone wants to get in touch with your agency about these services, what number should they call?
Well, there's a 24-hour hotline. It's 1-800-286-4184, and it's 24/7. Services are free and confidential. And we have our website as well, avanzarnow.org. And you can come to that website and see our services if you want to volunteer, if you think you need services, if you want to make a donation, everything's there.
And if you want to refer someone as well for those services, you could also call that number. And by the way, English and Spanish as well for the hotline
Yes,
number?
absolutely.
Well, great. We'll be right back with more Latino Motion.
Latino Motion with Bert Lopez is presented by Latino Motion Public Affairs Media, a New Jersey nonprofit corporation. Join us online at www.latinomotion.tv. Find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. We encourage your comments and contributions for show topics.
Welcome back to Latino Motion. We continue our discussion of the work of Avanzar, formerly the Women's Center, and joining Claudia is Percy Figueroa, who will discuss more about the agency's victim services. Ladies, welcome back.
Thank you.
We want to continue the great services that your agency offers. And I know, Percy, you're involved with providing some of the services, particularly for victims of domestic violence. Tell me about those services.
Okay, so for our domestic violence and sexual assault services, we offer emergency shelter, counseling, advocacy through our hotline, our 24-hour hotline. Typically, our clients will call and we will process them with intakes, and we take it from there. We figure out with the intake what it is that their needs are, and we assess it, and we make their appointments, and we schedule them for their counseling, or if they need immediate emergency shelter, we are there to help them as well.
So they call that number, they're in a stress situation where they need to get out.
Yes.
Do you help them with that?
Immediately, as soon as we do that intake, and as soon as it's assessed, we get them right to our emergency shelter.
Any requirements? How about legal status or anything like that?
Nothing to that nature. We do not question their status. They need our help, and they will get it from Avanzar.
How persistent or how common is the domestic violence and sexual assaults in Atlantic County?
I think the stats are like 1 in 4 women and 1 in 13 men are victims of domestic violence or sexual assault. And so it's very prevalent, and because those are only the reported cases.
Right.
So it's even more so because there's many who don't report.
So one of the things you're also addressing is human trafficking in a restored area like Atlantic City and the shore. I'm
Yes.
sure that we see our fair share of human trafficking.
Yes, and we're lucky to be the first statewide funded human trafficking service provider. So we do it throughout the state, and because, yes, New Jersey is kind of a corridor between New York and Philadelphia and the Maryland-Baltimore areas, so there is quite a network that we work with. The numbers there are very hard to capture. We work with about 100 victims a year, but there's just so many. It's hard for them to come out and ask for help.
So what other services do you offer once the initial intake takes place? How do you follow them beyond that?
We follow them with counseling. Once they, even if they're in our emergency shelter, we still offer them their counseling.
How about for the getting housing or
Yes, we
permanent
do.
housing?
We have transitional housing. Once they are in our safe house, we help them with the process of moving on with their goals. And once they've reached that, they can qualify, and we place them in our transitional housing.
We help them get a job, or again, the clothing closet. They may be eligible for the Displaced Homemakers program that we talked about. So we just go with where they are. Sometimes they just need protection for a while until the perpetrator can be apprehended.
Let's give out the 800 number again.
It's 1-800-286-4184.
So that's the hot number. Anyone that has that situation, they need to get out, they need services, call that number.
We also have the 609-646-6767.
Thank you, ladies, for sharing that
Thank you.
information.
Thank you.
Please stay tuned. We'll be right back with more Latino Motion. The Center for Family Services is playing a major role in helping unaccompanied children and teenagers who have crossed the southern border. Joining me to discuss more about this work is Omar Mateo. Omar, welcome to Latino Motion.
Thanks for having me, Bert.
So let's talk about this program. It's called Juntos, and basically you try to reunite these kids with families here in the States. Tell me about the program.
Yes, it's a great program. So these kids, they come to us alone, no parents, no guardians, and basically they're trying to reunify. They come here, for a better life and reunify with families that they have here in the States.
Now, so how do you go about that?
So once we get them into our program, one of our major things is just, first of all, we have to keep them safe. Second of all, we provide supportive services. We have case managers that get in touch with their families that are here in the States to make sure that they are the right family, to make sure we do other backgrounds. And while they're here with us, they usually they can either stay with a shelter home family, like a foster care family, or during one of our shelters, transitional housing shelters.
So this is not like we're seeing in the news where you have a warehouse full of kids.
Definitely not.
So you are really working to try to place those kids and get them settled somewhere.
Definitely. The kids they pretty much living like if they would be living in their own home. Our whole staff is Latino, Spanish speaking, from different cultures, so we give them their food from their home country. They have PlayStations and stuff like that, so they're doing well.
You know, even with all that, I'm sure this is a very difficult time for those kids.
Really
and you know, you mentioned some of the services includes counseling. Obviously, there's grief. There's a lot of trauma that these kids are going through currently as they're trying to meet up with some of their family members.
Right. I mean, imagine a 2,000-mile journey on your own. These are kids 17 and under. We also have a mother and baby. These are mothers that are 17-year-old, you know, coming to us with their 2 or 1-year-old. So yes, we have our therapists deal with trauma focus, you know, issues, and you know, we also do a lot of other stuff, supportive services for them.
So what's the normal stay for these children in your program?
So the normal stay is usually around 35 to 45 days.
This is before you get them placed.
Yeah, before, as soon as they come to us, they're already placed. So they're either placed in the shelter, one of our shelter home families, or our shelters. And they're usually length of stay that they stay with us in Center for Family Services is about 35 to 45 days, depending on how long it takes us to vet the family.
And how many kids are currently in the program?
Currently, we have 28 kids, but we're actually recently expanded. So we're gonna our program is actually about to double in size, and we're actually gonna come to the Atlantic County region.
If someone wants to volunteer to be a foster parent, what do they need to do?
So they could call us directly at our foster care number, which is 856-651-9633, or they could go to our website, which is www.centerffs.org, and they could get information on how to become a foster parent or shelter home parent.
So anyone could apply to become a parent?
So I'm glad you asked. So what the qualifications are that you need to be bilingual, English and Spanish speaking, because these are all kids from Central America. You need to have a home with an extra room. You also need to be of legal status, whether you're a resident or a citizen. And you'll probably undergo some background checks.
So we do want to talk more about the foster parents and their role. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with more Latino Motion. Welcome back to Latino Motion. We continue to discuss the work of the Center for Family Services to help unaccompanied children through some very difficult circumstances. And Omar Mateo is joining us once again. Omar, we're talking about Juntas, the program that you had, which helps these unaccompanied minors to get placed, basically. Tell me more about the legal aspect of this. How do you help them legally?
Yeah, so along with the supportive services that we provide the kids, there's a legal advocacy. So we have a legal provider to come to the shelter and actually meet with each individual child to discuss what options they have as far as, you know, how they become legal.
So how do you do this with a 5-year-old?
Right, so a 5-year-old usually comes with a sibling, like an older sibling. So you're usually not gonna have a 5-year-old by itself, so you'll have a 5-year-old with like a 17-year-old, 16-year-old brother or sister, and then they will, you know, do it with them together. We also, you know, are in contact with the parents of the country of origin or their family here in the United States.
Okay, so again, you have a big need to have more Latino foster parents for this program. You mentioned some of their qualifications. What do you provide by way of, you know, stipend and support?
Yeah, so we have a really good competitive stipend for each kid placed in your home. So for each kid, usually if you have a free room, we could place 2 kids in the room, and you'll have a stipend for each of those kids for every day they're placed in your home. On top of that, we will have incredible support 24/7. Anytime you need anything, we'll be there to answer any questions, and we'll put you through a training to help you deal with, you know, the issues that they have, to help them, you know, support them in your house.
So essentially, you do provide all those supportive services. Does the child get placed at the local school? How does that process work?
That's a good question. So along with the clinicians, case managers, we also have teachers. So we do everything in-house.
Oh.
So when you'll have the foster home, and then we'll have a separate site where they will come from 8 to 2 or 8 to 4 to come and get Monday through Friday. They get 6 hours of education. And this involves learning English, acculturation, stuff like that will help them kind of transition into their community, wherever their families are in the United States.
And you also provide medical support and
we have,
insurance for the children?
Yeah, we have a full-time nurse, medical coordinator. So as soon as they come in, we have initial medical exams, and we deal with local hospitals, and we have build a relationship with them. So they come in, they get all their shots, anything that they have, we take care of them.
So basically, you're looking for foster parents, bilingual foster parents. What nationalities do the children generally come from?
So that's a good question. So most of the kids are usually from Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. Every once in a while, you get somebody from Mexico, but for the main thing is Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador.
Let's give out the number again. This is to become a foster parent or to get more information about the program. What's the number?
Yes, again, the number is 856-651-9633.
And this website as well?
And the website is www.centerffs.org.
Omar, thank you so much for sharing this information with our audience, and thank you for joining us at home once again here on Latino Motion.
Choose to get your feet wet, to learn more about protecting our environment.
Choose to read minds, to understand the human brain.
Choose to get your hands dirty, to create a masterpiece.
Stockton University offers 50 high-quality academic programs, small class sizes, and affordable tuition. Choose to match your interests and talents at one of New Jersey's nationally ranked universities.
Funding for Latino Motion is provided by Atlanticare, a member of Geisinger. Atlantic City Electric, energy for a changing world. And South Jersey Gas.